Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on providing effective Reader's Advisory, also known as RA services. My name is Kelly Hart, and today we'll be exploring how we can connect patrons with books they'll love through Reader's Advisory. By the end of this session, you will have tools, tips, and confidence to help patrons of all ages find their next great read. Okay, so let's dive in. So we're going to begin with just a basic introduction to Reader's Advisory that any public library staff should know. So what is Reader's Advisory? Well, Reader's Advisory is a library service that's focused on helping patrons find books and other materials that match their taste, interest, and needs. Reader's Advisory is one of the most impactful services we can offer because it builds trust and fosters lifelong readers. So, why is Reader's Advisory important? Well, through Reader's Advisory, we build connections between patrons and our library's collection, and we also show patrons that we listen to them and value their interest. Ultimately, Reader's Advisory can transform a single recommendation into a lasting relationship between a patron and their library. To guide us in providing thoughtful Reader's Advisory, we use the 3 A's: audience, appeal, and appropriateness. First, let's take a look at audience. Patrons come from diverse backgrounds and may have different tastes depending on their age and interest. Reader's Advisory is never one size fits all, so it's essential to consider the audience for each recommendation. For children, they may have a specific favorite topic, like dinosaurs or princesses, and often enjoy books that are interactive or visually engaging. Teens are often looking for relatable or engaging reads and may gravitate towards genres like fantasy, romance, or realistic fiction. Finally, adults have wide-ranging preferences from thrillers and historical fiction to nonfiction and memoirs. We also want to consider a patron's reading ability, language, and preferences within these age groups. Okay, next is appeal. Appeal is about what makes a book attractive to the reader. Appeal factors may vary widely and can include genre. For example, is the patron interested in fantasy, mystery, romance, nonfiction? Another consideration is pacing. Does the patron prefer fast-moving plots, or are they looking for something slower and more reflective? Then there is the mood of a book. Some patrons enjoy lighthearted reads, while others may look for a dark, intense, or thought-provoking book. These appeal elements help narrow down specific recommendations to books that align with the patron's ideal reading experience. Finally, appropriateness is crucial for tailoring Reader's Advisory to the specific reader. This includes having a knowledge of content warnings. Patrons may have sensitivities to certain topics, so we need to be mindful of potential content triggers. For example, graphic violence, sexual content, or anything that the patron may specifically point out to you as something objectionable. Another factor is suitability of the recommendation to the patron. Part of this is ensuring that books are age appropriate. For example, a book for a mature teen audience may not be suitable for younger teens. A final factor of appropriateness is the reader's preferences. Patrons often come with specific requests or preferences, like avoiding profane language or seeking inspirational themes. Appropriateness ensures that we're not only suggesting enjoyable books, but also safe, suitable ones. Now, let's talk about the Reader's Advisory process, which is how we discover what the patron wants and needs in their experience. Reader's Advisory can be both formal and informal. In a formal setting, a patron might approach you directly for help. That can be done either in person or also through an online chat with a librarian or anything like that. In informal settings, you might start a conversation by noticing what the patron is browsing or making a casual suggestion. So, how do we understand their request? For each type of interaction, it's helpful to ask questions like, what's a book you recently enjoyed? What kind of mood are you looking for? Are you looking for something short or a long series? These questions help you gauge both explicit preferences and general interests. So when conducting a reader's advisory request with a patron, it works much like a reference interview where you ask questions and provide active listening to understand the request. Now, once you find the books and you direct the patron to it and they check them out, the next step would be following up. Following up is just as important as the initial conversation. It shows the patron that you care and provides insight into how well your recommendation landed. Follow ups can be brief, such as saying, "How did you like that book?" Or "Would you like something similar? Or are you in the mood for a change?" Taking note of their feedback can help you refine their further suggestions and let the patron know that you care if your suggestions were helpful to them. Reader's Advisory goes beyond one-on-one interactions. Here are some ways to expand your Reader's Advisory efforts. You can use displays or signage. Highlight new books, seasonal or themed books. Another example of a popular display would be the "if you liked ... you might like ... type of display, such as "if you liked Harry Potter, you may enjoy these books." Those displays can be very popular. Take advantage of social media marketing, using platforms to post book lists, staff picks, genre spotlights. This can expand Reader's Advisory to a digital audience. I'm sure many have heard about Book Talk, which is the book recommendation side of TikTok, which is just another form of Reader's Advisory through social media. So, something equally important but often overlooked is the power of word of mouth. Informal recommendations make a big impact. Sharing a book you loved can start a conversation with a patron. Each of these methods reaches patrons in different ways, making Reader's Advisory accessible and engaging. Next, there are lots of different tools that can be helpful in your Reader's Advisory requests. There are many resources out there. Some may be provided by the library, some may be accessible to anybody just through a Google search, but here are some of the main ones that can be invaluable for finding recommendations or even suggesting books that may be outside your personal reading comfort zone that you may not have a lot of familiar with. For example, Novelist is a database that allows staff and patrons to search by genre, read-alikes, or even specific appeal factors. Goodreads is a platform that lets patrons explore user reviews, lists, and personalized recommendations. Fantastic Fiction is a website that provides information about an author's collected works, as well as series order. There's also many helpful blogs and websites that regularly share about upcoming releases and reviews for new books, as well as recommendation lists. And these include Book List Online, Epic Reads, which primarily focuses on young adult fiction, and Book Riot. Finally, make sure you are comfortable accessing the library's catalog. This local knowledge will probably be one of your most useful tools. Often the best resources are right at our fingertips. Familiarizing yourself with the library's catalog and popular collections helps create relevant, timely suggestions and shows that you are connected with the community that you work for. These tools can streamline the process and provide fresh ideas for recommendations. There are a few important considerations that you should keep in mind when conducting Reader's Advisory. It's important that Reader's Advisory embraces diversity and stays sensitive to different perspectives. Considerations include inclusive reading, which is offering diverse perspectives in our recommendations and giving patrons a wider, richer selection of voices and stories. You should also be mindful of sensitive topics. Respecting a patron's preferences around sensitive subjects is crucial to maintaining trust and privacy concerns. Furthermore, always stay aware of bias awareness. It is natural to gravitate towards personal favorites, but it's essential to offer a broad range of options. Being aware of our biases can help us suggest titles more equitably. These practices help create an inclusive Reader's Advisory service that represents all patrons. To wrap up, here are some tips for building your Reader's Advisory skills. First, read broadly and track your reading. The more you read, the more you can recommend. As a librarian, it's important to read beyond your personal interest and try to have an understanding of what patrons in your community enjoy reading. This is valuable for any frontline library staff, as they will often come into contact with patrons who have interests different from their own, or may seek books about something that they have no personal knowledge of. Now, tracking your reading is really important because it keeps a record of what you have read, as well as a place for you to take notes and record your thoughts. This can be done virtually through many different platforms, including Goodreads, which I mentioned earlier as a reader's advisory tool, but also just pen and paper in a notebook. One of my personal favorite tools is a website called the Story Graph, which you track your reading on, and then it provides a visual representation of what you have read through various charts, such as pie charts of what genres you've read, the different moods, how many books you've read, that type of thing. Keeping notes on what you read, including the genre, pacing, and appeal, can be an incredible reading advisory asset. This works when a patron comes up to you and you're asking them the questions in the reader's advisory process of what are you in the mood for? And if they give you specific terms, you can reference your notes and your reading trackers and say, okay, well, you're looking for a slow paced, more reflective read in the romance genre. And so you can go and look and see, do you have anything similar to that? Or you can use that knowledge to make further inquiries in the various reader's advisory tools. The other tip would be to know the library's collection. You should just know what's in your building, as well as familiarizing yourself with popular titles and genres in the library, ones that your community is gravitating to. Another important thing would be to know the basics of the Dewey Decimal System, and especially when working with children, know a few of the main popular topics down to the decimal. So knowing that if somebody comes up to the desk and wants a book on sharks, you know exactly where to go at 597.3. Finally, it's best to practice informally. So, this can be done just anytime you're at the circulation desk. And this isn't just good reader's advisory tips, but this is good customer service practice. So, when a patron comes to the desk, you can just ask them, did you find everything you're looking for? Oh, if you've read the book, you can say, I've read this book, it's a great one. Or, start a conversation just in a very casual way. And that's a good way to just get to know your patrons, as well as get a sense of what it is that they are looking for out of the library on this trip. If they say, actually, I was looking for a certain book, but I couldn't find it, this is a great opportunity to say, well, let me help you by putting the book on hold or putting in a request for it on an interlibrary loan. Chatting with patrons at the circulation desk, or even just around the library if you're circulating, is a great way to gain confidence and test out different readers advisory approaches. It can also just be done with family and friends or coworkers when they say, what have you been reading lately? That is in itself a form of readers advisory that many find helpful. So, to conclude, I just want to say thank you for joining this webinar on Reader's Advisory. It really is such an important tool for anybody working in the public library, even if you are just a part-time staff member. If you are interacting with the public at all, you may encounter a Reader's Advisory request, no matter how informal. And as much as we love to share what we like reading, we want to expand that feeling to patrons by helping them find the perfect book for them. By keeping in mind all the things we've talked about today, hopefully you'll be able to hone these skills and keep reading and taking notes on what you read, and just exploring the library collection and exploring all the books that come out each day, and just keeping in mind what is current, what is popular, and how can you best serve patrons by tailoring their questions, tailoring your recommendations to their specific request. So I hope you've gained some valuable knowledge and insights today, as well as some practical tips and tools that you can use in your own reader's advisory search. So happy recommending.